Good morning, it's September 14th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. While Rome burns, Nero fiddles. And we've all heard that old saying, and the meaning of it was simple. The city of Rome was on fire, but Nero was oblivious and failed to take the actions necessary to save the city and the empire. It showed his total lack of concern for the people of Rome. I hate to say it, but we have a similar situation today. Joe Biden has been captive to the fiddlers within his administration. They have their own agenda, and if it does not help the average citizen in crisis, they're not that concerned. These are the liberals who worship at the altar of climate change. Nothing supersedes their issue, and the economy and the citizens could fall into a major crisis, but they would not change any of their policies. When Joe Biden took office, he promised that he was going to wage war on the fossil fuel industry, and he has lived up to that promise. He surrounded himself with left-wing policy people who made it their life's goal to shut down the fossil fuel energy industry in this country. There's no appliance that you use in your daily life that is safe from their regulatory efforts. We have seen them propose regulations that would ban the use of your gas stove. They want to force manufacturers to change how they make dishwashers. They've attacked hot water heaters. They don't like air conditioners. Clothes washers and dryers are under siege, and the list goes on and on. And I'm all for continuing development of renewable energy sources. I'm also in favor of reducing energy consumption when it's financially feasible. But the liberal elites dreaming up all these policies tend to live in urban areas, are better off financially than the average American, and for the most part have never worked outside the government. These are the guys who sit there telling you how to live your life without any experience in how life is actually lived and how it works. Let me give you an example of who these people are. Some years ago, when I was still working in D.C., I was hired by a small company from Illinois. The company, Tech America, was a German company that had come to Gurnee, Illinois to manufacture garage door openers. They had invested about $12 million in a plant and hired almost 100 people in this small town. Clearly, they had invigorated the economy of Gurnee, Illinois. Their garage door openers used the European technology. Instead of using photo eyes, they relied upon touch to reverse the garage door. Think about an elevator door, but much more sensitive. Garage door manufacturers started sending their doors to the company to test them. When Chamberlain, the world's leading manufacturer of garage door openers, saw what was happening, they went to their senator, Dick Durbin, and had language inserted in the product safety bill that if a door had to rely on touch to reverse, it was unsafe. It was this language that brought the company to me. I met with the company's CEO, and when he outlined the problem, I assured him that Senator Durbin would want to correct this because they were also an Illinois company. I would also point out to Senator Durbin that Chamberlain, a huge company based in Chicago, had just built a new garage door opener plant in Nogales, Mexico, not in Illinois. So we met with a staff member of Durbin who handled this issue. This 25-year-old spent the first 15 minutes of the meeting telling this CEO how dangerous his product was. At that point, I asked him if he had spoken to any other garage door opener companies other than Chamberlain, the company that brought him this language, or even to the trade association DASMA. His reply was that he did not have time to talk to everyone, which only emphasized the point that he had not talked to anyone other than Chamberlain. We spent another 15 minutes explaining the technology and its safety record in Europe, and also pointing out the possible safety flaws in openers relying solely on photo eyes. But this was like talking to a deaf person because he continued to insist that the product was unsafe and that Chamberlain had proven that to him. I realized the conversation was going nowhere, so I asked him if it concerned him that Chamberlain, the company that claimed Tech's product was unsafe, sold about 100,000 of those type of owners in Europe each year. Were the people in Europe not as valuable, so they did not need to be protected from a garage door opener that might be unsafe? The meeting with this young 25-year-old staffer, whose only job out of college had been working in the U.S. Senate and had been unwilling to talk to those who might have given him some more expertise about the products, ended without a resolution to our problem. Now, without boring you with any of the details, we went to some other senators who immediately recognized the inequity of the language and that was included in the product safety bill. By the time the bill was finally passed, that language had been stricken. But this is the exact problem that we're facing today, as all of these young idealists have flooded into the Biden administration, are now wreaking havoc upon the economy because of their devotion to choose a theory of climate change. When Biden took office, a gallon of gas cost somewhere around $2.35. Today, the national average is about $3.85 a gallon, and where I live in southern Utah, it's over $4.30 per gallon. The price of gasoline is on the rise again, as many of our foreign producers have cut back production. And you would think that would force Joe Biden to expand production here in the United States to alleviate the high cost of gasoline. In the past, he simply released fuel from the SPR, but that option has been used up and there's nothing more to get from it. The result is gas prices are once again on the rise. The price of fuel is a major contributing factor to inflation because manufacturers and producers have to use fossil fuels to get their goods to the marketplace. So while inflation may not jump immediately, it will continue to rise in the coming months. Meanwhile, Joe Biden continues to show his animus toward the fossil fuel industry by canceling offshore drilling leases and just recently stopped issuing permits to drill for oil and gas in Alaska. Now, he's previously gone to Venezuela, asking them to increase their oil production, and Democrats and administration officials have criticized Saudi Arabia and other OPEC producers for not producing more oil. They're outraged that another nation might decide it's in their best interest to reduce production to prop up the price. Well, the solution's right in front of them. Allow U.S. energy companies to produce as much as they can. Put the incentives out in front of them. Do this while simultaneously continuing the development of renewables. But please, Mr. Biden, don't be like Nero and stand idly by while the people of this great nation struggle to keep their families fed and to have the fuel to commute back and forth to work. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, hit the subscribe button or recommend it to your friends. And if you have a comment, I'd like to hear from you.